Revelation 1929. From the 23rd of May 1941. Purpose of predictions of coming catastrophe. A purely spiritual connection is the only possibility to lift the veil which God has spread over everything that lies in the future. The human being's future destiny should remain hidden so that he can shape himself according to divine will without being influenced, and it would hardly be necessary to announce a coming event to him as long as the attainment of his soul's maturity is important to him. But if too little attention is paid to the latter, the human being will run the risk of not living his life profitably, and he must now somehow be warned or made aware of this danger. He must be made aware of the possibility of a quick end and thereby awaken his sense of responsibility. And at the same time the permanence of everything that surrounds him or fills his striving and thinking has to be questioned. Thus the possibility of a sudden disintegration of the earthly has to be presented to him so that he recognizes the wrong path he is walking on. And thus God lets people gain insight into forthcoming events. He gives them knowledge of what he has decided in his wisdom for the sake of the salvation of such people who are inactive in their souls. He lets people receive information by way of a pure spiritual connection, since it is not possible otherwise in order not to curtail the human being's freedom of will. The results of a pure spiritual connection can be believed but also rejected as untrustworthy, whereas any other announcement, if God himself were to convey it to people in an obvious way, would cause horror and rather make people incapable of a changed way of life. The coming event must be announced to people in a way which leaves them free to believe or not. People should be warned, but not compelled to change their way of life. They should only consider the possibility of an extraordinary event and adjust themselves accordingly. Therefore, people awakened or chosen by God must receive the information about such future events by way of a pure spiritual connection and pass it on to their fellow human beings. They are now completely free to believe it and prepare themselves accordingly, or to reject it. But God never lets an extraordinary event come upon humanity without having warned it beforehand. The more unbelieving people are and the more they ignore their actual task on earth, the more powerfully God's announcement will be fulfilled. The necessity of divine intervention is so obviously recognizable at present, yet the soul's higher development is completely disregarded and the human being only lives according to his earthly task, earthly pleasures and physical comfort. Consequently, he will also reject such spiritual announcements and, despite warnings and admonitions, be completely unprepared if the announcements come true, because they correspond to truth and were previously conveyed to humanity on God's instructions. And therefore the prediction will come true in the forthcoming time. A mighty natural event will shake humanity out of its sluggish life without faith, out of spiritual sleep and unspeakable danger to the soul. Amen.